They said it was about love, about coming together, about creating something holy. But behind closed doors, it was control, betrayal, and silence. The cameras didn't capture everything until now. A leaked email, a deleted post, and a final twist that turns the entire Sister Wives tale on its head. This isn't reality TV anymore. It's a meltdown. It's Anya, and welcome to Reality Recap. Morning light filtered into the high windows of Robyn Brown's elegant Arizona estate, throwing golden light across granite countertops and quiet hallways. But outside those walls of luxury, what had seemed like a dream had become a stealthy nightmare. That house, with its carved woods and designer rugs, was no longer a haven of tranquility. It was a fortress of secrets. And today wasn't just one more serene morning in the Brown family. Something had broken. Something that no apology, visit, or therapy conversation could repair. For the first time in years, viewers weren't merely witnessing cracks. They were seeing collapse. The cameras caught it all. The icy stares, the stilted silence that shouted louder than words, and the growing emotional gap no one would dare bridge. Once hailed as the sweet, compliant wife, Robyn was now standing at the eye of a storm, open, vulnerable, and, in the opinions of many, perilously manipulative. And Kody Brown? No longer the authoritative husband or polygamous father. He had devolved into a shadow of his former self, twitching with exasperation, delivering empty apologies, telling stories that supported himself more than they spoke truth. But behind the theatrics of a reality program, one telltale question lingered. Was Robyn the cause of the family's downfall, or another victim in Kody's continued deconstruction? Were her tears real, or were her motives something else entirely? What if the so-called favorite wife was not beloved but feared? And worst of all, what if the devastation was orchestrated from the start? This is not another Sister Wives update. This is the unvarnished, uncensored dissolution of a family dynasty founded on emotional sacrifice and silent betrayal. Here, we go deep to the quiet behind the grins, to the manipulation disguised as disclosure, and to the unwritten sorrow choking every farewell. Buckle up, because what you're about to learn will forever alter the way you perceive Robyn, Kody, and what Sister Wives ever pretended to represent. It all began to unravel in slow motion. Small tone changes skipped family gatherings and odd, exposing on-camera confessions. What appeared as small ripples initially grew to become crashing waves. And before anyone could catch it, the Brown family's foundation began to disintegrate. Robyn's eyes had long been glossed with tears, but now they appeared different. Less sorrow, more strategy. Her breakdowns now begged questions. Was it guilt, fear, or the inevitable weight of knowing she possessed the last tenuous strands of a crumbling dynasty? In her spotless kitchen, sunlight streamed across a universe of shiny perfection. But Robyn was stiffened at her marble counter, hands clasped around a mug she hadn't brought to her lips in hours. She was looking out the window, not at the dawn, but through it, as if there were something lost behind it. Janelle's voice hadn't been heard in days. Christine's name hadn't been mentioned in weeks. And Meri? She was now merely a specter haunting her own narrative. The isolation hadn't just fallen among the wives. It had taken root deep within Kody himself. His previously authoritative voice now echoed with rancor. His previous apologetic excuses, which had been so convincing, now sounded like desperate gaslighting. The preacher who once screamed about unity was now racked with paranoia and remorse. "You don't know what it's like," he growled during a confessional, his jaw locked, his hands fluttering as if grasping for what he had lost. "Everybody abandoned me. Only Robyn remained." But the viewing public wasn't fooled. Remaining doesn't always equate to loyalty. At times, it is merely survival. One replayed incident. The audience saw a confrontation. Kody yelling at a producer off camera, voice shaking with fear. "You can't broadcast that. That didn't happen that way." But the footage was incriminating, too unbridled to be cut from the show. What had the cameras seen that Kody so desperately wanted to conceal? A row between Robyn and Meri that never quite made the edit. A phone call in which someone had spilled secrets to the press? Or perhaps it was an old email thread, with Robyn posing a question that redefined everything. What if it ends up just me and Kody? Innocent looking on the face of it, those words now rang with sinister meaning. And as the word of betrayal whispered through each crevice of the once close-knit Brown family, one solitary moment locked in time, irrevocably altering how viewers perceived the family. It occurred in the dead of night, cameras hardly rolling, a creaking producer's chair off camera. Janelle alone in the Flagstaff rental, arms crossed high on her chest, bloodshot eyes, not from tears, but from raw fatigue. "Everyone believes that I'm fine with all of this," she grumbled under her breath. "But I'm not. I never was fine with being disposable." Janelle wasn't addressing Kody. She was addressing the show itself, the expertly made-up story, the tightly edited storyline that had kept her in line for much too long. But now, the dam had burst. Janelle wasn't holding anything back. Christine's exit, initially thought to be a sheared break of her own making, now looked decidedly grayer. Was she leaving of her own accord, or had she been nudged out? The internet was ablaze as fans picked apart screenshots. Christine's pinched faces, Robyn's vague responses, Kody's incoherent explanations, and then the voicemail, accidentally recorded when a microphone was left open on during a break in filming. The sound was terrifying. Pacing outside, with a phone crammed hard against his ear, Kody snarled, "She knows we're going to have to spin this, Robyn. You told me this would never see the light." The internet blew up. What was Christine aware of? And why was Robyn doing damage control? Was it money? Property rights? Something much more profound. Something that may have involved the children. All at once, the past shows were scrutinized with surgeon's precision. Moments that had been brushed off as innocuous now smacked of manipulation. Robyn's insistence on documentation. Kody's deliberate absence from Garrison and Gabriel. Aurora's panic attack on set. Was it really anxiety or a response to something more manipulative? Meri, ever hovering in the background, had finally had enough. On a spontaneous reunion rap shoot, she got up, mic still attached, and turned to Robyn. "You orchestrated this," she growled. "You just stood back and let him come apart, and you called it love. You made your tears into ammunition, Robyn. And now we're all destroyed, except for you." The set fell dead silent. Even the cameras seemed to hesitate. Robyn froze, her hands slightly shaking, not from fear, but maybe from the dawning realization that her mask had finally cracked. The silence that followed Meri's outburst wasn't just uncomfortable, it was seismic. Every crew member froze in place. The director looked at the executive producer, unsure whether to cut or keep rolling. Robyn, normally poised in her on-camera answers, blinked wildly. Her mouth opened, but she made no sound. For the first time ever, her silence was more eloquent than her scripted words. Meri walked out, but her mic was still live. "I was stupid to stay. Stupid to think that he'd return," she told the cameras. But the biggest betrayal wasn't Kody. It was all of you enabling him. That gritty, unedited moment surfaced online within days, and it rattled the fandom to its very foundation. The hashtag #MeriUnfiltered started trending. Viewers called for TLC to broadcast the uncensored content. Reddit forums and Facebook groups became detective centers, deconstructing facial cues, unspoken exchanges, and smoldering tension throughout past seasons. Then came the diary. Angered by what she perceived as gaslighting by producers and taken aback by backroom pressure, Christine gave a handwritten diary note to an independent YouTube interviewer. It was supposed to be off the record, but as soon as the interviewer read a few lines out loud, the internet erupted. "I encountered Robyn and Kody in a parking lot in 2014. They were arguing. I couldn't see them, but it was the first time I ever witnessed him cry for her, never for any of us. That's when I came to understand he never loved us equally. He just pretended to." Audiences were left reeling. What had appeared to be an impromptu religious quest now seemed staged. Every move, every smile, every child, every home, recontextualized as a product of Kody's evolving allegiance. And Janelle, having been otherwise remarkably calm since her tearful one-on-one, finally broke open in a live Q&A. When a viewer asked directly, "Do you believe Robyn manipulated your marriage too?" Janelle, typically thoughtful and measured, hesitated and then nodded. Yes. Initially, no. But after Vegas, after the relocations, everything changed. She began emotionally isolating Kody. "She made us seem villainous just because we weren't submissive." That term, submitting, hit like a bomb. The wives weren't equals. They were playthings. And Robyn, by happenstance or design, had ascended to the throne. TLC producers raced to take back power. They made disclaimers regarding respecting family privacy and upholding editorial integrity. But the internet wasn't having it. The curtain had already been thrown open, and viewers weren't averting their eyes. Clips were rerun. Kody yelling at Christine, Robyn crying at strategic moments, Meri isolated as everyone else was celebrating together. Even occasional fans could now observe the emotional imbalance seeping through every episode. Finally, Kody had something to say. Swept up in a storm of criticism, he went live on Instagram. His hair was disheveled. His eyes were puffy. Guilt or lack of sleep. He inched forward to the camera and whispered, "You don't know what happened backstage. You only get to see the edits. We endured the mess," Kody explained. Then came the gaffe. "We were never supposed to be equal. That was just a lie that we told." That one sentence imploded everything. Comment sections blew up. Memes clogged up social media with those words in caps. On TikTok, influencers started restaging classic family moments now perceived through a new filter, one of bias, abuse, and abandonment. Robyn, for a short while, said nothing. But when she did re-emerge on a podcast, she was different. No more sobbing. No eyes wide with shock. "I did try to love them all," she said simply. "But I won't apologize for loving Kody the way he needed to be loved. If that made me the villain, then so be it." It was as close as she ever came to confessing emotional game playing. Christine wasn't slow to fire back, this time on her own live stream, complete with comfortable furniture and her fiancé David. She gave a chilled-out laugh. "Robyn says she loved us? Oh, that's funny. You don't love someone by redoing their history. You don't eliminate their suffering just to maintain your ease." Tension was no longer TV reality drama. It was real. And at the center of it all, the children, the older children such as Logan and Madison, distanced themselves entirely, dodging interviews. Robyn's Aurora and Dayton, however, got in the middle. A mysterious message from Dayton, implying the truth must be revealed, was promptly erased, but not before fans screen captured it. Speculation became imperative. What was the camera's blind spot? What truth had to be concealed? While online chatter intensified, turmoil was brewing backstage at TLC. Executives allegedly had emergency meetings about the fate of sister wives. Ad revenue was booming, but so were public recriminations. It was a tricky balancing act. Ratings were rising, but trust was plummeting. Then came the whispers. A whistleblower, perhaps a crew member, was reportedly set to publish a complete expose. Whispers circulated about clandestine footage, off-mic admissions, and behind-the-scenes tampering more sinister than ever conceived. Janelle, who had remained fairly level-headed during the storm, suddenly put up a cryptic picture. The caption? "Silence is not always peace." The comments went into meltdown. Christine left 3 red hearts. Meri liked it within minutes. But from Robyn and Kody? Not a word. And then the meltdown. The leak of an internal TLC production memo, which circulated on Reddit. Supposedly authentic, the memo contained notes describing how to craft the family story for maximum drama. One sentence sent chills down everyone's spines. Robyn should be sympathetic. Christine, confrontational. Meri, tragic but cold. Janelle, the quiet rebel, it proved what fans had long suspected. The reality show was scripted in spirit, if not in entirety. The women weren't participants, they were given roles. Indignation came quickly. Longtime fans became overnight critics. TikTok producers analyzed past episodes, contrasting them with the leaked memo, revealing how emotional arcs were neatly designed. The deception could no longer be sustained. Christine spilled an entire YouTube video. No music. No editing. Just her, on a couch, holding on to her truth like it was a shield. "For years," she told us, soft voice but tears-filled, "I begged them to allow us to be who we really are. Not the fights, not the tension. But they didn't. They needed a villain. And I played that for a bit. But I'm finished." The video reached 3 million in one day. Kody fired back with a shaky selfie video, shot from behind the front seat of his vehicle. Messy-haired and tense, he went on the attack. "We all signed up for this. Don't play victim now. You cashed those checks just like I did," but it just fueled the blaze even more. Comments poured in. "Checks don't excuse betrayal. Classic victim blaming. Robyn's silence speaks more than your tantrums ever will." And then, as if a specter from the past, Robyn Brown reappeared on Instagram. In an unedited, hardened post, they broke open about living through their childhood in the spotlight of cameras, secrets, and manufactured agony. None of us got to choose the story. It was chosen for us. Some escaped. Some became the story. That one post unraveled the last thread. The on-screen and off-screen tapestry of the Brown family began to fully disintegrate. And with each passing hour, the underpinning of sister wives crumbled more, but nothing could have prepared anyone for what followed. Late at night, out of nowhere, an anonymous private audio recording appeared on YouTube. It went viral in a flash on Reddit and X. It was unmistakably Kody's voice, enraged, unapologetic, and toxic. He was allegedly talking to a friend, with no idea he was being taped. "They're all just bitter," he growled.
Christine wanted out fine.
But now she behaves as if she's a victim. Janelle? She checked out years ago. And Meri? Well, we both know she remained because of the fame. Robyn, she is the one who never betrayed me. That sentence blew up over the internet. Hashtags #Kody masked and #Team Christine quickly rose to trending lists. TikTok was filled with speculation regarding who released the recording. Some believed it might have been one of Kody's own grown children. Janelle wasn't quiet. Her response was in the way of a hot video. Eyes bright, voice firm, tone icier than ever. Let's discuss bitterness? Let's discuss raising our children in solitude with cameras rolling and you in another home. Let's discuss loyalty because I gave you decades and you gave me excuses in return. Robyn finally spoke out too. In a live stream that shocked viewers, she came bare, no tears, no filters, just frustration and barely suppressed anger. I tried to be quiet, she replied. I tried to preserve our family name. But let's be fair, none of us are sinless. So don't you dare pretend like I set all this up. I lost a family too. That sentence, I lost a family too, struck social media like a clap of thunder. For the first time, people did not view Robyn as the so-called favorite, but perhaps as someone exploited just like the others. And then the coup de grace, TLC issued a well-crafted, corporate-sounding statement. At this moment, we are reassessing the future of sister wives. Our first concern is the safety and integrity of everyone involved. Thank you to our fans for more than a decade of support. It wasn't a renewal. And it wasn't exactly a cancellation. It was a stop. A heavy stop. A broadcast pulse that conveyed more in its quiet than it could possibly get across with words that in the aftermath. All of the wives started claiming their own digital identity. Christine's food channel gained 3 times as many subscribers. Janelle started a podcast, unscripted, with raw truth and no producers and no editors. Meri spoke publicly about therapy and finding her voice for the first time. And Kody? He disappeared. No fresh updates. No posts. His final Instagram story was a black screen with one blunt sentence in white letters. Sometimes silence is the only defense, but quiet didn't save him. Not this time. Several days later, family therapist Dr. Julia Marks, whom the Browns had hired privately, broke her silence with an exclusive interview. I saw them disintegrate before my very eyes, she said. The show did not ruin them. It simply showed what was already shattered, and viewers were left gaping at one terrifying question. Was the program ever actually real? Or did it ever exist in a reflection of a family's disintegrating dysfunction? As the dust finally settled, one thing was clear as glass. America hadn't witnessed a TV show. They had watched a dream die, one frame, one family at a time. Through the hollow halls of her own house, Robyn Brown paced slowly, not in exile, but in learning to rediscover herself. Her footsteps pounded like commas in a sentence once consumed by muteness. The photographs on the wall, once proof of a vibrant and unorthodox love, now looked like shreds of a lovely dream. She did not despise them. She did not even begrudge them. What she could no longer keep doing was pretense. Meri had always been the pillar, the first wife, the religious one, the rock. But alone on her porch today, she finally noticed that she'd been carrying something nobody even saw. Something they called loyalty, which slowly silenced her own voice. Somewhere else, Christine remained silently in the backyard, observing the wind blow through the area where her children had once played. She had envisioned Sunday dinners, shared birthdays, and enduring sisterhood. What existed was a splintered tribe, and the difficult reality. They had all orbited a man who conflated submission with love. Christine escaped, indeed. But in her dreams, the shackles continued to clatter. Janelle sat quietly too, bundled in both independence and grief. Losing Garrison wasn't losing a son. It was losing one of the last things that remained constant in her life. As she paged through an old scrapbook, she spoke to herself softly. How did we even get here? It wasn't just Kody she was grieving. It was the myth, the illusion, and Robyn? She too hung in there, still grasped the hope that the vision of a united family could be somehow reconstituted. But even she couldn't quell the tidal wave of rumors, the whirlwind of furious DMs. or the apart analyze of each thing she ever uttered on the tell-all. Her reputation had transformed. No longer the soft-spoken peacemaker, now, to many, the mastermind of destruction. And Kody, the once commanding patriarch, now resembled little more than a ghost, drifting through the ruins of the empire he helped build and quietly, relentlessly, destroyed. An empire dismantled, spun apart strand by strand, admitted publicly confession by confession. But the last word? Not yet. The cliffhanger the world couldn't look away from. Not all was taped. An off-the-record leaked email, never intended for the public's view, came out. An unnamed and untitled producer for TLC issued a warning to executives. We've created a monster. One we can no longer control. The Brown family is imploding, and viewers can't stop watching. What happens when the story becomes too real for reality TV? Gossip went wild online. Message boards were filled. Was Kody being quietly phased out? Was Meri writing a tell-all memoir? Was Christine already taping a spinoff? And then there was the Instagram story. Midnight. Janelle uploaded a black screen. Only one enigmatic sentence. It was never about polygamy. It was always about power. Within minutes, it was gone. But not before fans screenshotted it and lost their minds. Subreddits went private. Comments were disabled. TLC's official YouTube account quietly removed an entire playlist of early episodes. No warning, no note. Something was coming. And then the bombshell. TLC dropped a bombshell announcement. A new limited series called Sister Wives. The Fallout. No release date. No cast confirmation. Just a teaser trailer and one ominous voiceover. Some stories don't end. They shatter. Fans instinctively prepared for what was turning out to be the most dramatic chapter, yet one thing was now certain. The Brown family drama wasn't done. It was merely starting. As dawn broke over Flagstaff, sunlight flooded the windows of homes that once echoed with laughter and unity. Now, they sat heavy with silence and questions left unanswered at her bed and breakfast. Meri stood quietly by the window, staring across the bleak horizon. Her phone buzzed. She didn't move. A message from Kody blinked across her screen. Hope you're okay. Let's talk soon. She stared at it for what felt like forever, and then closed her screen. No response. Out on Coyote Pass, the earth stretched out open and unworked, a ghostly memorial to commitments that had never been fulfilled. Janelle came alone. The wind snarled her hair as she walked toward the wooden stakes of lots that had once been intended for houses. Out of her coat, she took a worn, coffee-stained map. Each quadrant had once represented a dream for her kids now. Only haunting recollections. Garrison's non-appearance hit her with force. She fell to the ground, hand on heart, whispering his name. Christine, on the other hand, was already established in life in Utah. Cameras accompanied her through the quiet of a morning ritual, pouring pancake batter, cooking quietly. It appeared peaceful, but her eyes revealed the truth. Peace came hard. One, in the adjacent room, truly worked on painting in silence. A producer inquired softly about Robyn's words on the tell-all. Christine hesitated, breath quivering, spatula shaking in her hand. She didn't just steal Kody, she declared bluntly. She stole what we could have had. And now she wants sympathy. In Arizona, meanwhile, Robyn sat at the kitchen island, a mug of cold, long-forgotten tea in front of her. Kody paced offstage, grumbling, clutching documents, not deeds to property, but Meri's official release. Termination. Then Robyn spoke up for the first time, her voice coarse. They all believe I won. But this doesn't feel like winning. This was followed by Solomon bursting in and crying, "Why are people angry at us?" Robyn's eyes went wide. Kody knelt down to comfort him, but it was too late. Their children were raising themselves under the shadow of a narrative they never opted for. Back at TLC's offices, one of the producers had watched all 4 tell-all specials. An assistant called out from across the room, "Are we having a season 20? Not glancing up, the producer answered, "If we do, it'll be the last." There's nothing left to cover up anymore. Just fallout. The screen went black, and then a voice requisite. "Come, Christine, sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. Sometimes it just burns everything down." But even from the ashes, you rebuild. This saga, it's nowhere near complete. So hit that like button if you're hashtag TeamWives. Subscribe for the next explosive update and leave a comment below. Who do you think wins? Stay shady. Stay curious.